Hey, so welcome everyone. I have a very special guest joining us here today, one of the members in the Fit Body program, Patrick Santoro, and we're going to share with you how he went from having a beer belly to now dropping 25 plus pounds of stubborn belly fat in under 90 days. So, Pat, thank you so much for taking the time out and joining us here today.
Actually, it's 35 pounds.
35 pounds. I apologize. I stand corrected.
That's all right. No big deal. How you doing?
It's 35 pounds over the course of the 5 months.
That's correct.
But it was 25 pounds in the initial 90 days. So I apologize. That is correct.
Right. No, you're right. Let's do it.
Let's do it, man. So Pat, I'd love to start this way. Why don't you share? I know every time we have a phone call, I feel like there's like milk and honey flowing out of your mouth. There's not a bad bone in your body, man. And you have such great things to share and to say about the program. So why don't you share with everybody a little bit more about who you are, what you do, and give everyone a little bit of context?
Sure. So my name is Pat Santoro. I own a janitorial company and I live in Smithtown, Long Island. I was introduced to you right at the end of February, beginning of March, by another person that's in the Fit Body program, Dan Burns. And it's
Shout
a funny
Burns.
Yes, it's a funny story because the year before, in April, I had gone to Hawaii. And when I came back, I was with my brother-in-law, my sister, my two sister-in-laws, and my wife. And when we came back, everybody was going to go on a diet. Everybody felt disgusting. And so we're going to have a contest. So the only one that went on a diet was one of my sister-in-laws, and she lost 40 plus pounds on her own. So a year later, now it's March of 2021, and I'm actually heavier than what I was when I came back from Hawaii. So I had just started another division in my business, a rug cleaning division, and my aunt, who's my partner, we know Dan Burns from years ago. He's in one, we did some investing with him, and always very personable guy. And she met him she happened to meet him in a parking lot a few days before. And so she was talking to him. She told him what we were doing. He's like, "Oh, I have a rug that, if you guys want to come pick it up and whatever." Because Dan's the kind of guy that always wants to pay it forward. He's that kind of guy. Even if he doesn't need his rug cleaned, he'll do it because he's that kind of person. So make a long story short, I went to his house in Mineola and I picked it up. And while I was there, and it was the wintertime, I had a jacket on and whatever, but I guess he saw me laboring. And he said to me, and again, not in a bad way, he said, "Listen, if you ever want to try to get in shape," he says, "I know this guy." He said, "Let me show you pictures of me before and after." And I was blown away with these pictures. I said, "My God, in 3 months." It wasn't even the idea you could eat pizza or you could do this or you did. I just was like, wow, I can't believe what you look like, the difference in the pictures, because pictures don't lie. So he said, "Let me set it up." His name is Urslan and whatever. And you were right on. It's one thing I do like about you is I don't have time for nonsense. Okay. And if you're going to say if you're going to show up or be somewhere or say you're going to call, then do it. Okay. So the only thing we got left is our word. Right. So anyway, we made the connection, and I'll never forget when you said to me, I said to you, "I'm going on vacation." And I said, "You know what, maybe when I come back, we'll start the program." And you said, "Listen, Pat, I'll give you the week for free. I don't care. We won't start physically, until you come back, but start logging your food. Don't wait." And that's what I did. So I went down to Florida and I started logging whatever. I started getting familiar with the app. And I started getting familiar with it. And when I came back from Florida, I hit the ground running, and I really never looked back. And it's been so easy. And what's funny, as the months have gone by, I really don't even want to eat the crap. People tell me, how did you do this? I said, well, I had help from a friend of mine. I consider you my friend. I said, but I stopped putting crap in my mouth, and I started paying attention. And even to this day, I pay attention, and I make conscious decisions now if I'm going to spend the calories on this, do I really want to spend it on this? Because later on, I may be watching TV and maybe I want to spend it on that. So I don't just haphazardly put stuff in my mouth and say, well, I'll worry about it later, because you're always hungry later. You're always doing something. So I kind of really plan out what I'm doing. And that's the biggest part for me. Two things. Number one was the accountability, because I didn't want to let myself down, but I didn't want to let you down either. Okay. Because I don't want to be a failure for you either, because it wouldn't be your fault, it'd be my fault. But people may say, well, he didn't do the right thing or whatever. But I feel that this is sustainable for the rest of my life. Now, I do have some fat I want to get rid of, and that's another conversation we can have together. But I just feel, no, it's unfortunate I have a couple of injuries and stuff like that. But I really feel like even after that, even after I get some certain things done, I still feel like I'm still eating the right way. I'm still doing stuff. So I owe it all to you because, and again, I listen to a lot of your stuff on Facebook and on Instagram, because basically it's 80% mental. The other 20% is really the eating. It's only food. But I feel better. I went from a 44 waist to a 38 and a half. I went from a 36 pants to 32. I can't even wear some of my clothes anymore. It actually looks like I'm sick, but I'm not. I feel really good. So anyway, that's my story so much in a nutshell.
That was probably the most all-encompassing answer I've ever heard in my entire life. That was amazing. Thank you, Pat. Thank you so much.
No, you're welcome.
And you know what I would love to share with everyone is I remember earlier into the program you had, and everyone's different, right? So I know your doctor had mentioned to you, oh, maybe cut back on carbs. And I'd love for you to share about the sustainability of the program, how like the non-restrictive nature of the program as well. And maybe talk a little bit about that as well, if you can.
Sure. Well, I had gone to the doctor, and obviously the doctor is thrilled with the weight loss. I mean, he's almost like he can't believe like what I'm doing. But he had said to me that, my cholesterol was a little high at that time. And I think that at that time I had lost 17 pounds. And he was very happy, but he's like, just be careful, try to eat more fiber and try and net carbs and this, that, the other. And then I remember I had question you about it. And like you said, when you start to lose weight, all your numbers will automatically reset themselves, regardless of how you get there. Now, obviously, listen, if I eat 1,800 calories of cookies, am I going to be healthier than eating 1,800 calories of broccoli? Probably not. I could probably still lose weight.
But both sound like hell, by the way.
I'm looking for a balance where I don't I'll give you an example. If I want to have a couple of beers, I want to have a hot dog or this, that, the other with a bottle, I don't feel one bit guilty. See, before I've lost weight and gained weight, lost weight and gained weight. There always seems a point, like right now is the pivotal point for me. It's always after the first 3 months where you lose weight. It's that 3 to 6 to 6 to 9 to 9 to 12 months where somehow, I don't even know what went wrong in the past. I don't know what made me go back to eating like a gaboon. I have no idea. It's a weird thing. I don't see the value in it now. Okay. And again, it wasn't hard to get where I am today. It really wasn't. And I'll tell everybody in the day, if you really want to do that, all you need is a little bit of discipline, pay attention to what you're doing, listen to what you're saying, and follow the plan. I just watched something that you had today about almost like mirroring somebody, right? When you want to get near people who do where you want to go, and you kind of hang out with them, right? It's like my father always used to tell me, if you hang out with bad people, you become a bad person. If you hang out with good people, you become a good person. Okay. And it's the same thing. So if as long as you buy into it and have an open mind, nobody's here to hurt me. You're only here to make me healthier and have a better quality of life. Okay. And that was the other reason why I decided to do this, because I have too much living to do. I have grandchildren. I have this. listen, eating right and exercising, there's no guarantee I'm going to live any longer than what I'm going to live. But I give myself a much better chance that when I'm 80 years old, God willing, I can pick up a bag of groceries. I could pick up a box that's delivered to my house. Not where I'm unless something happened to me, a disease or something. That's the only thing that could really stop me now. Okay. I'm not going to let my ignorance stop me from having quality of life.
I love that, Pat. And could you maybe share what those things were that you did try in the past that didn't stick long term? Because obviously we're doing this now for well beyond 3 months.
Well, I've tried paleo in the past. I've tried low carb. I've tried a body for life, where, you kind of have a cheat day every week. And you stick to something, whatever. But I was never conscious of the macros. In Body for Life, they teach you, eat a protein with a carb and this, that, the other. But I was never really conscious of I never really understood why I was doing it. The one thing that you do, which is terrific, is you tell us why. Okay. And you give us a lot of information as to why we're doing. Because I've always believed that if you don't know why you're doing something, then it's not sustainable. It's like saying I want to make more money, or I wish I could. Yeah, it becomes a wish. There's no plan here. There's no, like you said, and again, I think Anthony Robbins has said it. People don't lack resources; they lack resourcefulness. Okay, because we have all this information today, but we don't put it. It's like a computer. If you don't put the information into the computer, it doesn't it spits out nothing. It spits out garbage because you didn't put anything in it. It's like growing stuff outside. If you never plant something, nothing ever can grow. Weeds, grass, plants, nothing grows. So it's like retirement. It's not the amount of return on your money. It's that most people are poor when they get older because they never start. So I'm investing in myself.
Oh, it reminds me of that quote, like, scared money doesn't make money. And with that said, Pat, could you also share what almost stopped you from investing into the program? Because it is an investment, like you mentioned.
Well, I guess always, listen, there's always a money factor. Okay. And then I think the biggest thing for me was, I'm going to invest X amount of dollars. I don't know if I trust myself at that time. It's almost like, let me invest it. And then all of a sudden you get busy with other things. It's like, well, all right, I blew another, whatever. I didn't want to do that this time. See, I understand listen, you could tell people in the program, here, listen, I'm going to charge you X amount of dollars a month for 6 months. But I understand, let's get me the money first, because if you have nothing vested and you have no skin in the game, then what is your motivation to keep going? If anything, I'm going to keep going because I invested the money. I'll give you a really quick story, really fast. One of my sons is an attorney. And
you could give me a story really slow. This is amazing.
Okay. So he's an attorney, and he got it when he went to law school. He got a full scholarship to law school.
Amazing. Congratulations.
Thanks. So I said to him when we were there, I said, you don't have to do this if you don't do this for me and your mother. If you don't really want to do this, regardless if it's free or not, don't do it. And you know what he said to me? He's an attorney anyway, just to let you know. But he said to me, Dad, he said, if they're going to give it to me for free, it's an opportunity. Even if I never used it, at least I have the education, I have the knowledge, because it opens up so many other things. So he never looked at it as, I'm doing it for this, that. He took it as, I'm going to be that old anyway. I might as well take advantage of the opportunity. So when I met you, I had an opportunity, regardless of what it cost, to better myself and learn. Because it's like when you go to school, you go there or you go to a trade school, you learn that trade so you can prosper. It's the same thing here. For me to sit here, listen, I've lifted weights before. I've eaten before. We've all eaten our whole life. But it doesn't make me smarter. Sometimes you have to be a bigger person to yourself and say, you know what? I don't know everything. Let me follow this. What's the worst thing that can happen? Nothing ventured, nothing gained. But this has really taught me you know, and I think my wife's kind of sick of me now because I mean, and she's buying into it too, but you know, like I'm telling her about this and I do a lot of other research. You have to see me. It's nuts. And sometimes she's like, yeah, I know already. You know?
How old are you? Are you 25, Pat? Like that,
Yeah.
your energy is like 10x mine. It's amazing.
Well, I have to say, I am much lighter on my feet. I mean, it's amazing how much lighter I feel even just walking. It's, you know, you don't realize because, you know, what happens after a while in life, you get used to aches and pains and they become the normal. When you're dragging yourself around, it's the normal. And you could make yourself believe anything. You could, oh yeah, no, I'm doing this because of this, or who cares about that? Or, you know, it's like saying, it's like saying, well, I'm not going to save money because I may die tomorrow. But what happens if you don't die tomorrow? You know, I mean, there is that.
Then you're really in trouble.
Right? So you can't live wild. You know, you can't have the philosophy, well, I'm not going to take it with me, so I might as well just blow it today. Because you may last another 30 years. Now what? So again, that's the same thing. I could say at my age, you know what? I'm going to get older, and this is the way life is, and this is the way people feel. Because I look around at people my age, and I'm like, oh my God, they really look like they're in bad shape and they're suffering. But they don't have the knowledge. That's the problem. It's not that they don't have the want or they don't want to do, you know, they just don't have the knowledge. And knowledge is power, right? Only if you use it. Okay. If you don't use it, you might as well stand. Listen, I could take the money I paid you and stand outside and burn it in the driveway. It'd be the same thing, you know, so.
100%. And Pat, man, you have such a great mindset. I don't want to overstep in any way. Would it be totally overstepping for me to ask you to share your age just to inspire people that might be at that level? And it's totally okay if you don't, by the way.
I'll be 59 in October.
You'll be 59 in October.
Yeah.
Okay. So with that said, you mentioned, and this is something that I've found a lot of guys struggle with, is how did you overcome that inner voice where I don't trust myself?
I think, be honest with you, I think the accountability was a major part of it. I think because you made me more aware, and when you become more aware, you have a different outlook. You have a different way of doing things. And I think that was the biggest thing for me, the accountability. You know, it's like in business, you know, people say, oh, you must be great to be in business for yourself. You must be, you know, being your own boss. And I tell people, all of the clients that I service are my bosses. Everybody has a boss. Some people have one boss, some people have 100 bosses, depending on what you're doing. So, but you have to, one thing business has taught me is that regardless of the size of the client, I'm still accountable to that client. Regardless if I charge them $1 a month or I charge them $1,000 a month for service, it doesn't matter. They should still get the same accountability. Okay. And that's the same thing here. So I'm being, for the first time, as far as weight and as far as exercise, I'm being accountable to me. And that's the biggest difference.
I love that. I love that analogy as well with business, where no matter what someone's paying you, you want to bring that level of service regardless. And you want to treat that person with the same level of respect.
Yeah, it's not, you know, they don't know that. They expect you to be the same to them as you are for somebody else. It's like having children. You want to have the same love for all of your children. You don't pick and choose. I love you better. I love you worse. It makes no sense. Even though every child has a different personality, every client has a different personality. You know, you always have not with your children, but you always have an option with a client. If you can't service that client like you would service if it was $1 million client, then give up that client, because you're doing that client a disservice.
100%.
You know, I've been in business 43 years. It's not by accident. We're not the best.
Wow, that's amazing. You know what, Pat, could I just share? Like you mentioned Tony Robbins earlier. I think I heard him say one time that less than 5% of businesses stay in business in 10 years, let alone profitably. So You said 43 years. I would love to hear from you selfishly. What do you think's been responsible for helping you not only have success, but longevity for that long? And because I think there's even a takeaway for a weight loss standpoint as well, because I feel like everything is connected.
Well, I think number one is accountability to the client. If you say you're going to do something, then do it. Okay. Now, are we perfect at what we do? No, but we strive every day to be perfect. Okay. If we're not perfect, please let us know, and we'll try to be more perfect. I'm going to use my business as an example. So, we do cleaning. So let's just say somebody complains about a counter. Okay. We'll take care of the counter and whatever, but we try very hard for that problem never to happen again. Something else may happen down the line, but we try very hard for that one as we start to pick and pick it off. Okay. So accountability is definitely the number one. Number two, you have to be accessible to your clients. You can't tell them, well, I can't make it there today, or I can't do this, or I can't, whatever. If I have people working in a building at night and they don't show up, if I have to get in the car and I have to go clean it, it's not their fault. They paid you for a service. They paid you for accountability. They paid you for being dependable. And that's the other thing, being dependable. People, I have clients for 30 years. Now, why? Because I'm terrific? No, not that, but I do what I say I'm going to do. I show up when I say I'm going to show up, and we try to do the best job we can. Other than that, there's nothing else we could do. You could change services in my industry all you want, but basically all you're doing is changing management. Because because we all draw from the same, every industry has the same people in it that's working in it. So if you don't like me, or the price is too high, then you can get rid of me. But if not, then let's work it out. Communication. And that's the other thing in life. If you don't have communication, there's no, we have a saying in my business. It's our motto. We don't just clean, we build relationships.
I love that. That's awesome.
All right. But we're building a relationship. We're building it's not that we get a lot of, in commercial cleaning, we don't really get a lot of references from other clients. It's not like residential, because building A really doesn't talk to building B. But it's just, you still want to build relationship, because you never know if that manager leaves that building or that job, and 5 years from now ends up somewhere else, and he said, "Oh, let me call them because I had a good relationship with them." You never know. Like, I never burn bridges. Even if a client lets us go for whatever reason, I've gotten jobs back because they went out, they hired other services, and they didn't work out. And they said, "You know what? Pat really wasn't that bad. Let's call him back." There's no value in burning a bridge. I don't care, because you got to get all. It's business. It's not personal. Okay. So, and again, if I'm proof that if you just have ethics and you just do the right thing, you can sustain a lifetime in anything you do. I don't care if it's in business. I don't care if it's working for somebody. I don't care, whatever. Okay. But if you don't have a passion, that's the other thing. People today are so worried about making money that they forgot about why they're doing what they're doing. See, like, you're very passionate. See, the money will follow. Okay. Billy Joel, when he wrote music, he didn't write it because he wanted to be rich. He wrote it because he had a passion for what he was doing, and then people will pay him for that. So the money always follows the passion. So you should never give up. When you start to feel like the passion is going, then get out of the business. Go do something else, or retire. Because that's where people, there's a saying that says, if you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life. And that's the truth. Now, do I have problems like every other bit? Of course. But the good thing about problems is that I like solving them. Okay. That's what I like. I like to troubleshoot and solve the problem. There's an old saying, if you have a problem, solve it. If you can't solve the problem, then you don't have the problem.
Wow. That is amazing.
But
I've never heard of that before. That's so cool.
Yeah. So, and again, you always have options. You could always, I'll give you an example. If me and you we're working together, and let's just say, for argument's sake, 2 months from that, 2 months into it, we can't get along. you could say to me respectfully, hey, Pat, listen, I don't think this is working out. I'll give you half your money back or whatever. Okay. Or maybe it's the other way. And I say, there's nothing against you, but you know what? Here, keep the money. It just didn't work out. It's not for me. Okay. So you always have options. Okay. You can always walk away. You can always do this. I just decided this time to execute the option of let me do this. And it's worked out terrifically. The best thing for me is how my clothes fit. Okay. And I mean, because there was like, I have suits that I just couldn't get. I mean, it was actually stupid. I couldn't get in. It was like, I felt uncomfortable and whatever. Now it's to the point I have to go to the tailor and have them taken in. Okay. But I'm not going back. There's an old saying about, if you want to, I think I heard you even say it. If you want to take an island, burn the boats. Because now you have no option. If you always give yourself an option to go backwards, you'll never go forward or end up where you should be.
Wow, that's amazing. It reminds me of like, I'm obviously in San Diego right now, Airbnb, trying to like figure out where to live. Like I always gave myself an option to go back, but the second I signed my lease yesterday to go to Mineola, it's like, that's where I feel like I burned the boats in a positive way.
Yeah. And now in your mind, now you can move forward.
Yeah. Pat, I love that you said that because it took up so much mental bandwidth. I'm like, I would just much rather make the wrong decision at this point and free up the mental space again so I can focus.
That's correct. It's like if you have a pain and you go, or you have a tooth, and you go, I don't want to go to the dentist. Eventually, you're going to have to make the decision. You're going to have to do it. I'm not saying you just make a decision wildly, okay, without any thought or conscious thought. But eventually, after a while, it gets to be almost like it's, I forgot who it was. It wasn't Zig Ziglar. It was somebody else. And they said there's a book called Eat That Frog.
Brian Tracy.
Right. Okay. Brian Tracy. And I don't know if you ever read the book. Okay.
I haven't, but I've heard of the concept.
Eat the frog is when you have something that's standing in your way. Okay. We have a tendency as human beings to procrastinate. And when something is standing in your way, the only thing you're thinking of, good or bad, and not making that decision to eat the frog, you can't think of anything else. You can't move on. You can't do anything. Okay. You can't go and buy new furniture. You can't go and buy this. Well, I'm not going to buy new furniture because I'm stuck here. But once you make that decision, it's empowering. And it's funny. There's an old saying, home is where you make it. Okay. Never be afraid of new things and new adventures. Because what you did was you made a conscious guesstimate. Okay. Life's a guess. We don't know. It's a gamble. We don't know. But you didn't just got up one day and said, I'm going to Mineola.
I'm going to Mineola. Forget it.
In fact, it's comical because I was listening to what you were saying and I'm like, all that nonsense to go to Mineola. And again, I mean that in the nicest way because I live here and I'm like, Mineola, I'm right there. Like I drive to Mineola all the time. Like, so I'm saying I know you were thinking about maybe Florida or over here and going there and going to whatever. And Mineola, like I could have told you 6 months ago, let's go.
That'd have been helpful.
But I'm glad you made a decision because now you'll see that life, once you get that part of your life out of the way and you get settled, other things will open up because you don't have that frog in the way.
Wow. That's amazing. I've got to get that book now because I'm intrigued. Because that's exactly what I was experiencing. I almost felt paralyzed in a way where it's like I physically can't focus on other things. This is taking up all my mental bandwidth. And the second I made that decision of signing the lease, it was like you said, it was almost empowering. I had so much more energy and freed up mental space.
And the funny thing is, even with even somebody like me, when I have frogs in my life, sometimes you don't even concentrate on eating. You know what? I can't eat right because I got this frog in my way. Or I can't exercise because I'll talk myself out of it because I got to take care of this frog, which I never did anything with anyway, but I'm using that one as an excuse now. So, eventually if there's nothing, if you have no frogs in your life and there's nothing stopping you, then what's your excuse? But we're great as human beings to make up excuses because we could justify anything. We could justify anything. It doesn't matter. So the more things you remove from the more indecision you remove from your life, the easier your life becomes, and it's more fulfilling because you'll be able to concentrate more on more things that are more fulfilling.
I love that. You know, it reminds me, I was speaking with another member earlier this morning, Nick Pesci, who was a bigger guy, who was 270, and he lost 70 plus pounds within the 6 months or so. And what's funny is I spoke to him back in November and he didn't start until February. And the funny thing is we were talking today about this and he's like, you know, Urslan, like my excuse in November was I'm too busy. And the funny thing is I was even busier in February, but I just started anyways. And now I'm in this place where I'm under 200 pounds for the first time in a long time. And it reminded me of what you said. It's just like, we're so good at making these excuses.
Well, it's like the person that always says, I'm busy, busy, busy. You know what? Everybody's busy. I mean, life is busy. That's like saying, you don't have children, but it's like saying, well, when's the best time to have a baby? No best time. You just do it and you adapt.
I love that. It's like a ready, fire, aim. You know?
I mean, life is, God is going to throw things at you your whole life. Okay. It's how you adapt to those things. It's not how many times you fall down, it's how many times you get up. And also with an experience of saying, if you don't learn from your experiences, negative or positive, then you're doing yourself a disjustice. It's like the guy who owned, I don't know if he still does, but FedEx. Okay. I can't think of the gentleman's name, but the first day when FedEx was in business, they sent 5 packages out. I think 2 were lost, 2 were like beat up, and 1 was actually delivered the right way. So everybody came back to the office. His name is Fred Smith. So they came back to the office and everybody's like, oh, he's like, what did we learn today? And they're like, oh yeah, we just, smashed up 2 packages and we lost 2 and whatever. And one got to the customer. He said, yeah, all we have to do now is figure out how we did that and then duplicate it 1,000,000 times. Don't live.
I love that.
It's like I don't know if you've talked about this, but it's like in a car, right? Your windshield is nice and big. Your rear view mirror is tiny. Stop looking in the rear view mirror.
Wow. I've never heard anyone put it quite that way. That's so powerful.
So much bigger. There's so much more opportunity.
Wow. Oh my gosh. That's amazing.
You can't change what happened, in the past, but you can change what happens in the future from those experiences.
Wow. Wow. That's amazing. That resonates so strongly, Pat, because I feel like we live in a therapy culture where it's not a lot of people's faults, where they've been taught that biography is destiny. But it sounds like what you're saying is that's not the case, that your past doesn't have to equal your future. Absolutely
not. And the other thing really quick is, going back to business, they say 9 out of 10 businesses fail. The key is get to the first success before you get to the 9th failure.
Wait, say that again, because I didn't quite catch it.
So they say 9 out of 10 businesses fail.
Okay.
So the whole key to being in business is get to that first success before you get to the 9th failure.
Wow, that's phenomenal. Pat, I feel like this is like a business seminar right now. Like, this is amazing. Yeah. Selfishly, I'm loving this.
Yeah. So again, everything is in your mind. Okay. You put negative thoughts in your mind, negative things will happen to you. It's like the law of it's going to. You put it out there negative, things are going to come back negative. You put it out there positive, things are going to happen positive. So,
I truly believe that's why you've had such tremendous success with not only losing weight, but with the program in general. I feel like not only is your mindset where it needs to be, but also you have high levels of follow through on your word, high levels of integrity. character, ethic. I think all of that is just the fat loss is just a manifestation of those internal character traits and the mindset that you have. Would you maybe agree with that?
Yes, absolutely. And again, it trickles down when you have the right mindset in anything you do. It trickles down to all aspects of your life. Now, not everything works out 100% the way you planned it, but then you have to adapt from there. You know, sometimes if you don't eat the right way that day, you kind of fall off. That doesn't give you to say, well, you know what, I blew the weekend, so let me just eat like an animal now, or let me eat for the whole week, or you know, I mean, listen, I've used every excuse in the book. It's the summer, it's the holidays, it's the winter. You know, it's funny when it snows out. Everybody, it seems like that's the day where all bets are off. We're going to eat anything and everything because we're stuck home in a snowstorm. Like, what does that mean? We're never getting out again? I mean, the next day you got to be accountable again. You know, now you gain 14 pounds. I mean, what is that? Does it make any sense? It's almost like you're going to the electric chair. No doubt.
Like death row final meal.
I mean, my God, you know, but
it reminds me of what Tony Robbins said about how some people get buried in the winter under the snowstorm. Other people snowboard or ski during the winter. It's the same winter.
Exactly. It's like it's a state of mind. Have you ever seen Anthony Robbins live?
I have not seen him live, no, but that sounds amazing.
I've seen him live, but you know, we walked on fire.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So, you know, listen, sometimes really quick, when you're living life, it's very sometimes difficult to step out of yourself and be appreciative and you know, of what you have. But there's an old saying that if you took all your problems, I took all my problems, and Bill took all his problems, and Billy took, you know, whatever, took all their problems and put them in a basket, and we're all staring at it, we probably would take our own problems back.
Wow.
So everybody has worse problems than you. Everybody has better things than you. You just got to be happy in your own skin.
Wow. You know, it reminds me of I was reading this book called The Gap and the Gain, and one thing the author writes in the book is how if you focus on what you lack, you lose what you have. And on the other hand, if you focus on what you have, you gain what you lack. So right. It's very interesting that you put it that way. I love that you said that, though. I think that's so powerful that if we put all these problems in a pot, you would probably end up choosing your own problems back.
Absolutely.
It's so powerful, man. I feel like we get so myopic and we lose sight and perspective of how good we really have it, even if we're going through a rough time.
Absolutely. You know, it's sometimes you need to see somebody else's tragedy, and I mean this in the nicest way, to put yourself for you to be reset and say, wait a minute, what am I complaining about?
Yeah, it's like
this is nothing. You know,
man.
Yeah, the hard part is, but when you're living in it, it's hard not to think that you're the only one that has this problem. If that makes sense.
100%. It reminds me of what Confucius said. He said, I used to complain about the fact that I never had any shoes until the day I met the man that had no feet.
Right. And again, you know, look, even going back to you know, you found a place in Mineola, but there are people who don't even have an option to find a place in Mineola.
That's right.
Okay. You have that option. They would kill for that.
Yeah.
But you take it for granted. Not that you didn't work for it. That's not what I mean. But sometimes, you know, like going to the grocery store, if you want, we can go buy this, let's say, and buy that. Some people, they can't. You know, they really have to worry about what they're spending and this, that, the other. So, you know what? Be happy for what you got. Don't compare yourself to anybody else, and be grateful. You know, because it could all disappear one day. You know,
man. I'm so inspired by your mindset.
And I'm inspired by you, and I really appreciate it.
What's that? I
said I'm inspired by you, and I really appreciate that.
I'm honored that you're inspired by me, because I feel like wow. I'm thankful. I'm humbled. I feel like I have so much to learn, and I'm excited to learn even more. Wow, like you have such an incredible mindset, and it's a gift. It's really cool. But I call it a gift, but I think that's discounting it because I feel like you've developed this through effort, through skill sets, through learning, through investing in yourself.
You know, the best part about getting up every day is that you have an opportunity to learn something else. That's the best part, because nobody's that smart. And so if you keep an open mind in your life, you have a really good shot at having a great life.
I love that, man. Like, it reminds me of what Michael Jordan said. Michael Jordan said, my greatest skill wasn't that I was this phenomenal basketball player. My greatest skill was that I was coachable.
Exactly. Exactly. And that's what I did with you. I finally said to myself, I don't know everything, because obviously, there were things that you told me. And again, I guarantee a lot of the members in the program are like, what is this guy talking about? And like, you can't do that. How can you do that? That's not what I learned 20 years ago. Yeah, but where am I and where are you? It's like asking, I'll give you an example. It's almost like getting personal training from a fat person and then expecting results. Why would you go to somebody who's fat and say, hey, get me in shape? It doesn't make any sense. It's like almost like saying, I want to go to, you wouldn't go to somebody who's not successful and say, make me successful. So it's the same mindset. But sometimes you just, regardless of how old you are or what, then don't deal with it. But that's ignorance. I don't know what your background is or what you did or whatever. I have a decision. I had a decision to make. I could have said, you know what? Don't worry about it. Thanks anyway, whatever. But, and I'm glad I did, because it's not like, I feel very confident that I could sustain this. Like if you saw me 2 years from now, I would probably be just as good or better. I'm not going back, and there's a big difference between saying I can't have that or I don't want that. When you make the distinction between the two, it's powerful. Somebody, you go,
that's huge.
And they're going out and they're saying, oh, come on, have this, come on. Oh, I can't. No, I don't want it. And when you make that decision, it's just in the terminology, it sends a different signal to your brain. I don't want it. I don't want to waste it on that. I don't want to do that. I don't want the drink. I don't want this. If I wanted it, I'll have it. But when you say I can't, it's like if I told you can't do this and can't do that, the first thing you want to do is you want to do this and do that. It's just it's the child in us.
Right.
Yeah, I can't. I'll show him. So it's all psychology.
I love that. No, I mean, you nailed it earlier when you said 80% of success in anything, including weight losses you've experienced, is psychology. Only 20% is the mechanic or the skill. And it reminds me of what Mark Twain said. He said the difference between any word and just the right word is the difference between lightning and a lightning bug. It's like these things are completely diametrically opposed. So essentially, what you're saying is just by changing the language, you're able to change what it means to you. And because of that, you're developing this new neural association, if you will, new relationship and a new meaning. And it's almost transforming how you view food and how you view your relationship to your body as well.
And the other big caveat is that you have to have a big enough why. If you don't have a good enough why, it's just a wish. Okay. So you have to figure out why you want this. It's like somebody saying, I want more money. Well, you weren't specific. How much more money? I mean, I gave you $1.
Here's $1.
$1. Okay. Now you got more money. You're not specific. So, you gotta make a plan. You gotta put it into action, and then you gotta keep adjusting it as you go. It's like a pilot who takes off from New York to go to Hawaii, and then the wind blows him. He makes small adjustments, and he gets to his destination. He doesn't let it pull him over. Now he's in Colorado. So Colorado, I don't know what happened. It's like the Super Bowl, right? It's like when the winning quarterback, and they interview him. Hey, how'd you get here? And he says, he turns around and says, I don't know. We were on the bus and we got here and we just got here. I don't know. We happened to win. I don't know. It wasn't that we practiced and we did this and we had a plan and everything has a plan. Okay. But if you don't execute that plan, it's just a wish. What's the thing Zig Ziglar say every time? What does he say about the target? He said, if you aim at something, you'll hit it every time.
If you don't have I know exactly what you're talking about. It's
It's a
like if
great
you don't have a goal, you'll miss it every time, or something along the lines of that.
hit it every time. You'll
Yeah,
just
yeah.
hit it. It's like aimlessly. You're just throwing it out there. Big deal. What a waste of time that is.
Oh, you're saying if you don't have a target, you'll hit it every time.
Yes.
Wow. I'm fascinated by that concept because I feel like sometimes people are afraid to set a number because they don't want to get disappointed. And as a result of not doing that, they fail by default.
Yes. I'll give you another thing. I heard something today which was comical. So I heard somebody say that they didn't want to work out to be a bodybuilder. Okay, now I'm not a bodybuilder, but I'm going to tell you this. You know how hard it is to be a bodybuilder? Do you know how much effort and time and discipline it takes to be a bodybuilder?
You won't get there by accident.
And how years it takes? So when people say, oh, I don't want to get bulky, I don't want to be a bodybuilder, I don't want to, you're not going to be. But why not strive to be the bodybuilder? Because you'll get to where you want to go then by accident.
Wow. It's almost like aim for the moon. Even if you miss, you'll land among the stars.
Yeah, exactly. It's like the woman that was 53 years old. I'll never forget this story really quick. She was 53 years old. And she wanted to be a doctor. And people said to her, what are you, nuts? You're 53 years old. It's going to take you X amount of years. And she said, I'm going to be that age anyway. What's the difference? So if I'm 58, I'm a doctor, or 60 years old, I'm a doctor, I'm going to be 60 anyway. What does that got to do with anything? So I should just give up the dream of being a doctor because I'm going to be older? I'm going to be older anyway.
That's amazing. I love that. And that's so helpful for me to hear because, being a physique athlete and competitor, this is, a story I tell myself sometimes that doesn't serve me is this is a young guy sport. Like I kind of missed the boat, but I want to do it anyways. And who cares if I'm 28 when I get there or 30 or 35, I want to get there. So what's the difference? I'm going to be 35 anyways.
It's not always about the outside. It's about how you feel, how it makes you feel inside. And that's what gives you consistency. And that's what will give you the repetitiousness of it. If you constantly compare yourself in photos and say, oh, I don't look like this, it's cosmetic. It makes no sense. It's how it makes you feel. You could be the worst. You could be the worst in worse shape, but if you feel the good inside, you're striving. Years ago, I knew a kid who was a bodybuilder, and he said to me, the biggest thing for me is consistency. Okay, it took me years to get here, but if I wasn't consistent from day one, I would never have gotten here. I didn't just land here. It's like I said, it's like saving money. If you save money religiously, eventually you'll have money. But if you say, well, it's only $25, only $100, but the time went by and you blew it and now you don't have it. So it's make the investment in yourself, make the investment, because this has taught me even more in business. This has even taught me more about being more disciplined. Because, when you work for yourself, sometimes you can be complacent. Even though I have my bosses are clients, but still, if I don't want to go to work, I don't have to go. I don't have to do this. So sometimes you could get lazy and get complacent. But this is for me, with the weight training and the diet is a visual thing. I see myself in the mirror every day. So it's an accountability to me. Okay. But it's also transferred over to my business now and saying, okay, let's not just talk, but let's get this done. Because sometimes sometimes you could be all over the place. But this has really taught me more about, because now I feel good physically. So now I have more energy to do other things and get other things done in my entire life. So it's a domino effect. It's not just I'm in shape or I'm not in shape or I'm eating right and everything else in my life is out of control. I've often said that if you look in somebody's car, you could basically tell how their life is. what if their car looks like a disaster, pretty much their life is probably in a disaster in certain areas. Okay.
Like kind of like the way you do one thing is the way you do everything, kind of like along the lines of that.
Yeah, kind of. There are people who are very organized in business, but they're in their personal life, they're not. And they're all over the place. But imagine the power of trying to take all of the best parts of you and put it into all of the other parts of your life. Man, that's powerful.
Pat, I want to ask you a question. This is something, a pattern I've almost noticed with the members in the Fit Body program. I've had a member named Anthony who's a realtor. And, of course, I'm not going to share any last names. And he said this, getting into good shape, he's had his best year in business ever. Danny, who was referred to you, who referred you to me, said this was his best year in business ever, coming off of his best year prior.
Right.
And without sharing any numbers and getting, too into the specifics, would you say you've experienced that as well? Maybe not to like the best, but like you've experienced like, oh, this has helped me business-wise,
I don't know from a monetary standpoint, only because of COVID and because of certain extenuating circumstances.
Right.
But I'll tell you right now, I could be in a lot worse position because I'm thinking clearly. So I'm making better decisions because I have more, clarity in my head, because I'm not sluggish, because I have more energy, because I feel more rested, because I feel lighter. So even decisions in my personal life are better because I'm more clearer.
Wow.
So it definitely makes, when you feel good physically, and it transcribes to everything. You feel good about yourself. The way you exude yourself, the way people read you is different. People just see a difference. It's not just so much the physical. They see it. Wow, you look different. It's like a woman when she's pregnant, she looks like she's glowing, right? Well, because in her mind, she's glowing. So it comes out of you. It almost oozes out of you, And if you could pass that on to other people around you and they can pick up on the same vibe, well, it makes for a stronger community around you, So it's to me, it's been eye-opening, and it's been a great journey, but it's a lifetime journey. It's a marathon. It's not a sprint. And if I can keep this up, which I'm almost 95% I can. I don't see, even if I decide to do this, that, the other, I don't see the value in falling, because I really have never denied myself anything. It's not where I say, oh my God, I can never have this again. I chose to have it, or I choose not to have it. And that's the difference. Not, I can't. Because when you say I can't, then it becomes a diet, right? And you think of the word diet, it's like die. Oh my God, I'm dying, And that's how people look at it. Because at the end of the diet, here's the other thing. Once you hit your goal weight, or if you even, like, I don't even know where my goal weight is to take it to until I lose whatever. But once you hit your goal weight or whatever, then what? It's like saying I want to make $1 million, and then you make the $1 million, and then what? That's it? I guess that's it. We'll just lay down and that's it. We did it. No, you keep striving for other things. I'm at a point now where I want to lose some more body fat and whatever, because I'm there and I see the value in it. Not from a way your clothes fit and the way you look, but also from a mental standpoint. The better you feel about yourself, the better you can do other things. And the more you add to people's lives, it could be clients, it could be family, it could be your kids, it could be your friends, you're just a different person. You just have a different outlook. And that's,
I so appreciate this. It reminds me of that quote, like, the person that loves walking will walk further than the person that's just walking to a destination.
That's right.
Like they appreciate the journey, not just the goal.
Like Forrest Gump.
How right? So?
You just got out and ran.
Yep.
Right? You just kept
Mama
running.
told me to run.
He just kept running. He had no. I think sometimes when people listen, it's always great to set goals, but you always have to keep setting the goal. You can't just stop at a goal, because it's like saying, I want to run 5 miles, but then what's next? You'll adapt to that, and now you're back to the same thing again. So you always have to keep almost tricking yourself into better, bigger, and better, if that makes any sense. Because people get complacent, they go back. This is why, you remember the show The Biggest Loser?
Yeah, of course.
All right. Have you ever noticed they don't have reunions? Right? Because they're getting it all back. Because it's not sustainable. And you talk about this all the time. You talk about keto and paleo and low carb and fasting. They're great tools, but it's not where the core of your nutrition should be. It's not sustainable. We're a culture that needs to eat and be around people, and that's how we socialize. That's how we do things. Okay. But to sit here and say, well, I'm never going to have this again, that's actually stupid. Okay. But people tell them that, and then that's why they fall. This is too hard. I'm just going to, it's like a diet book, right? This diet book doesn't work. Of course it didn't work, because you changed it. You're starting adapting it. It's like saying, I want to make chocolate chip muffins, and you put raisins in and go, this doesn't taste like chocolate chip muffins. No, it doesn't, because you put raisins in it. You changed it. It's not the book. It's like you. You can tell me all you want. You can leave me the water. If I don't drink it, how is that your fault? Oh, Urslan's no good. No, it's not Urslan. It's me. So,
I do my best to make the horse very thirsty, if you will.
Again, you can only do what you could do. Aside from coming to my house or coming to the gym or watching me every time I eat something, I can sit here and lie to you. Well, who am I fooling? Oh, and again, I could say, oh, yeah, I'm doing this and doing that. Meanwhile, I'm gaining weight. I mean,
this doesn't add up here. The math doesn't look right.
Yeah, no, it's you. You did. You don't. You're stupid. It's foolish. We're not children. And I think that's the best part about this. I think it's even easier virtual, because
Really?
Yeah, because you don't feel like you're like, oh, I have to go to the gym and meet with the personal trainer. I don't have to meet with the nutritionist. You almost have to learn this on your own, even though you're helping us. Because if I don't gain this knowledge, one day you're not going to be there. What are we doing here?
100%. 100%. I'm the biggest believer in, like, how can I give you the necessary tools so that you learn how to fish so you can have a sustainable lifestyle. My goal is, how do you get rid of me as quickly as possible?
Yeah, and that's in the nicest way. It's like I'll give you an example. Like, if you go to school to learn something, I'll give you like, you went to school to be what you are, right?
No.
Okay.
but I understand what you're saying.
No, but if you go to school now, if you don't take that knowledge, you're not still in school, are you? I mean, technically, right? So if you don't retain that knowledge and enforce the knowledge and move forward with the knowledge that you've learned, you're no good. Well, it's the same thing here. I don't care if you do this virtually or you wrote a book and you said, Pat, here, read the book and follow the book. What is the difference? No. But that's the biggest thing for me. I think it's taught me at 59, almost 59 years old, as far as health, I'm only fooling myself.
Pat, you have the energy of you have better energy than me, man. Like,
no.
I have energy like you at 59.
No.
Awesome, man.
But I'm glad that you asked me to do this, and I hope people get something out of it, and because like I said, it's been life-changing for me, and it wasn't like it wasn't that I was like dire or I was 100 pounds overweight or or whatever, but I just didn't feel good. I just didn't feel my best, and now feeling like this, it could only get better if I keep paying attention. And the sky's the limit.
I love that, man. That's Well, I feel like this is probably one of the best interviews I've ever had the opportunity of doing. I don't think we actually talked about this. Could you share with people where you started at numbers wise and where you are now?
Sure. I started at 224 pounds and I'm at 189. I went from a 44 waist to 38 and a half. Like I said, I went from a 36 pants to a 32. And even my shoes got smaller.
Wow.
Yeah, my shoe size, certain shoes went down. So I actually had to cut my belts because they were sticking too far. I had to buy new shorts because even some of the shorts, the belt thing was sticking in. It was crazy. It looks like pleated shorts when they're not, because I just jamming them around. What else? Just the overall account, just the overall awareness of I bought a Fitbit, steps. I'm more conscious of it. Even me and my wife now, we go walking, we go whatever, and she sees the results with me, and she says, you know what, enough's enough. This doesn't even make sense. Because it's and she sees that I think I'm a little anal because when I get involved with something, I really go. But she sees that I didn't kill myself. It wasn't like, oh my God, I was complaining every day, like, oh my God, I can't have this. And, oh my God, what are we gonna do? And I was miserable. I wasn't miserable, Although she may say I'm miserable anyway. But no, I really. It's been a very, very easy journey. And like I said, when people ask me, how did you do this? Besides telling them I hired somebody, I tell them I just stopped putting crap in my mouth. And they're like, wow, what, really? That's, it's like, even when you stop eating processed foods, by default, you're going to lose weight. Because it's, in processed foods, they put stuff in there for you to eat more, right? They give you, when you go out to eat, they give you bread first, right? Because bread it activates, sugar and insulin, and you want to eat more and eat more. It's all being aware of what you're putting in your mouth before you put it in your mouth, and how is this going to affect me? Not, oh my God, just throw it in my mouth because it's there. Because half the time we eat food, we don't even taste it. We just do it by habit. So I'm trying to make. I'm in the last 4 months. I've tried to make health and eating and nutrition like brushing your teeth and taking a shower. It's just part of my life. And sometimes, like, if I'm supposed to like exercise today, or sometimes I have to skip it and go to tomorrow, which is fine. But it's almost like you feel like it's almost like you don't have your phone with you. It's almost. I don't beat myself up about it because life gets in the way sometimes, but you got to almost say, I got to do this. It's like, I got to take a shower before I go do this, because if not, I can't, it's not the right. It's the same thing here. If you don't love and take care of yourself, you can't love and take care of anybody else. And that's the biggest thing I got from it so far. And like I said, I just have too much living to do. I just, we only get one body. It's not like we can trade cars and we smash up a car and we go get a new car. We only have one of us. So we might as well take care of it, because if we don't take care of it, who's going to take care of it? So that's it. That's it in a nutshell for me.
And like you said, the sky's the limit.
Sky's the limit. Who knows where I'll be a year from now? Yeah. I may be competing against you now.
My man, I'd love to have you up on that stage. Awesome. Well, hey, Pat, thank you so much for today and for sharing just your experience so far in these past 4 months or so of dropping the 35 pounds. And man, I couldn't be prouder of the knowledge you've learned in this period of time, and also of just the mindset you have. And I'm so thankful that you shared what you shared today. And I know without a shadow of a doubt that this was probably one of the most valuable interviews I've done, because of the fact that you tied a lot of business and life knowledge into and experience and lessons into this as well. So thank you so much, Pat. I really appreciate you taking the time.
And I thank you. And I definitely now will get to meet you, because now you're going to be living in Mineola, and we live on the island, and there's no reason that we can't get together and say hello, because it would be nice to meet you and shake your hand.
Absolutely. One thing I'm planning on doing is monthly live events. So you're invited, and I can't wait to shake your hand as well and give you a big hug.
That'd be great.
Awesome. And hey, guys, thank you all for watching. We hope you found some value from this. If you did, there are a couple of ways that you can help. If you're listening to this on the podcast, please screenshot the podcast episode, share it to your Instagram story, tag me at Ursan Ali Fitness. That way we know that you're tuning in. And if you're listening to this on Instagram or Facebook, please heart the video and comment, leave what your biggest takeaway was. Share it with someone that you believe would also find some value from it. Thank you so much for watching and for listening, and we will see you in our next video. Pat, thank you again for tuning in here and joining us today.
Thanks, Ursan. Take care. See you soon.